Um, and just trying to be consistent with doing the live chats here. Did a little bit of promo, but I haven't done a lot of promo for it yet. I haven't set up a regular reoccurring pattern where everything's automated and set up. So a lot of times, like today, I just kind of go live and see who's around. And that's really a crapshoot, and it really goes against how I want to operate with everything. Uh, However, it's better to, say 80% is better today than 100% tomorrow. So I'm just trying to keep things moving along here and not wait for that perfect time. And this is kind of like an experiment to see, all right, let's see what happens here when I put up a quick short on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook 24 hours beforehand and do nothing else. Let's see what happens with that. And right now, so I'm right on time here, and right now I have 0 people watching, so I'm literally talking into an abyss. And I have promoted this here, again, just promoted it with one short post. So if no one shows up, like is happening right now, I'm going to get some really good feedback that, oh, maybe just doing a quick post the day before is not in your best interest. But while I do that or talk about that, I'm actually going to call up my live chat here on my computer. Okay. And so right now we have one watching, and I think that one watching is me. So if you do hop into the chat, say hello. Oh, we got Paul. Paul from Arizona, correct? And let me see, is Paul, are you the one with, Canada. Okay, yeah, I just hooked up with a dude from Canada. He was actually watching my channel, Dylan Farrell. I actually went out to go see him. He just got to town, and he's gigging his ass off right now. You should check him out. His name's Dylan Farrell. I'll see if I can put that, I'll type that actually into the chat. But yeah, Dylan just moved here from Canada, and yeah, he's playing his ass off. I think he came out to a gig or two of mine. I'm gonna see him tonight at a jam session. But yeah, all the way from Edmonton. So curious, who else do we have here in the chat? If you want to hop in and join. But again, I'm just talking about living, working in Nashville, what it's like to be a musician here, being a professional musician, and then, oh, jeez. And I have my lavalier mic on, and I don't even, there. So let's see if this works. So, all right, there we go. Okay, can you hear me now? So just give me a heads up, let me know you can hear me. All right, cool, thanks, Mojo. All right, so Paul asks, how do you deal with back-to-back nights and soreness and fatigue? So Paul, what kind of musician are you? What do you play? What instrument? Let's start with that. So while we're waiting for Paul to answer, yeah, okay, so Paul's a drummer like myself. And so I can tell you how I deal with it. Now, keep in mind how I deal with it is going to be very different than how someone else deals with it, right? It's kind of like what happens if person A goes out and runs 5 miles versus person B running 5 miles? Their reaction, their experience, their abilities, their capabilities are going to be very different. Okay. And so, why I'm like really into this, just really talking about the physical aspects of being a musician and the pain aspects, because, and I'm going to answer your questions, Paul. One of the reasons, the main thing that brought me to Nashville was not to play. I was going to help musicians rehab injuries, musicians with pain, musicians with soreness and chronic fatigue. Uh, and I was doing very well with that in terms of money, in terms of clientele. And I just decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to play, and all I wanted to do was play. And we can talk more about my experience, doing physical therapy, my experience with helping people recover from injuries. But really, I like to think about musicians as athletes, because really what we are doing every day is we're using our body to perform tasks of high skill, and we're doing that in a repetitive fashion, and sometimes we're doing it, at a high rate of volume. So with Paul, to answer your questions, how I deal with the soreness and the fatigue is that I very much view, so I'm doing like a lot of 4-hour gigs. Sometimes I'll do a 4-hour gig back to back. Sometimes I'll do 3 gigs in one day. So that's 12 hours of playing. That's a lot of playing, right? And that can lead to a lot of injuries. And I tell people, regardless of your instruments, you might be able to play 8 hours straight one day, and you're 12 hours straight. And you think that's cool and good, right? And you won't feel any immediate effects of that. But it's very much like taking your car out. You can drive your car in, drive 1 or drive 2, very high gear. You can do that for like the first 30,000 miles of its life. Then all of a sudden, one day, bam, it's gonna blow out, okay? And it wasn't because you just took that car around the corner that one time when the engine blew out. It was all the times you did beforehand. So that's a way of saying that really your pain, your discomforts, or fatigue you're feeling is accumulation of everything you've experienced as a musician in life, your patterns. So with me, what I've done to combat the fatigue and the soreness is a couple things. Especially if I'm playing a lot, I don't booze. It's just alcohol is a toxin, and it really takes away from your body's ability to recover. Some people like playing with that. There's no judgment on that. I'm not going to tell someone you can or you can't drink. But me personally, I avoid alcohol when I'm playing. I avoid doing those like 3 or 4 hour nights of sleep. And I also make sure to move every day, and in a very deliberate way. Like, so I'm working out 6 times a week, and not every workout's gonna be crazy hard, but I'm also making sure to walk every day, but also build strength, build resiliency in my tissues, especially because I'm sitting down all day long when I'm playing, and we're in these like rounded positions. So I'm always working on exposing myself to the opposite positions, always working on squatting, always working on hip flexibility and mobility so I can increase my tolerance for these long gigs. And so with these long gigs, I find that if I went and played 16 hours straight today, I'd probably be pretty sore. But if I built that up over time and gradually worked my way into that, it'll still be a lot for me to do in one day, but I could do it. Does that mean I should? No. But think about playing music. Think about it something like running, right? If you're trying to train for a marathon, you're not gonna run 1 mile today and then 20 miles the next day and feel like, okay, like I'm there. It's a process. So yeah, Paul, if you have more questions about that, you can let me know, because again, this is actually what I went to school for the third time around, after my after I got injured and couldn't play for a while. Oh yeah, so Mojo is asking, how do you deal with the garbage weather? Uh, So, anything to do with snow? Well, it's not about. So, Joe, curious, what do you mean by garbage weather? Like, how does the scene react here? But I can tell you that a few weeks ago, we had about Nashville canceled for me about a week of gigs, because it doesn't snow very much here. It rarely snows here, and Southerners don't really know how to handle snow, and they don't have the infrastructure for it. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, spent the last 10 years of my life in Chicago, so I'm pretty used to the weather, so I was like, oh, this is absolutely normal. Um, so yeah, but a lot of things like closed down. Like some honky tonks stayed open, but if I'm pushing a cart to a gig, I'm not going to be pushing my cart like several blocks through. Like everything was iced over, so a lot of gigs just shut down. A lot of venues just shut down. Now, if there's rain, all right, the show must go on. You know, I'll put on a hoodie or something like that. So I keep, if I'm doing gigs in town where there's a back line and I'm just like taking my snare and my cymbals, those are all in waterproof cases. You know, I travel with everything with hard cases. Yeah, and if you're playing an outside gig, well, I'm not going to be playing on a rainy stage because I'm pretty sure that the audience is not going to be sitting through a rain or a typhoon. So, yeah, that's the question about weather. Joe is asking, what do we do in the case of inclement weather? So next question, do we have any other questions, or should I go on a rant about something else? But feel free to pop in here. And Paul, I would really, you know, I think I'm going to explore your topic a little bit more in the future. Maybe do some videos on this channel about that. And really what I'm trying to do with this channel is to keep it in a pretty specific lane that is helpful to a specific group of people. And some people, and I really love talking about movement and pain and discomfort. Again, I had a whole business based on it. Okay, hey, Iron Man. Iron Man 2009 say, so how are my ears? Do I wear earplugs? Yeah, that's a great question. I'll always have earplugs with me. And I have in-ear monitors that seal off my ears, so it provides about 20 decibels of ear protection. But I always carry a pair of earplugs with me. I personally like using eargasms. They cost about $100, and it's just kind of like they turn down the volume a little bit. I also have like a $20 pair of earplugs that I just keep in, like, you know, okay, if that's an emergency. And I used to have a custom set of molds, but I've lost them, and I'm notorious for losing things. But yeah, I usually, I've done a few gigs without earplugs, and I'll feel that noise hangover for a little while, which, yeah, not a fan of. And so anytime I'm practicing, also I usually wear a pair of Sennheiser HD280s. So those provide some sound isolation as well. Yeah, yeah. Crashes, they're not always great for your ears. So do you have so Joe's asking if I have a favorite house kit in Nashville, and yeah, I do. Well, there's a couple. Whiskey River has a really good DW kit, but Layla's has my favorite snare. It's a Sonar Mickey D signature snare. Mickey D was a drummer from Motorhead, and so it has like these like skulls and stuff on it. Like it's a really cool snare, and I've looked to try and find it online, to buy it online, can't find it anywhere. So if anyone ever finds a Sonar Mickey D snare, he's the drummer from Motorhead, please let me know. But I'm also working on a video of house kits here in Nashville. So I've been taking videos of all the kits on the stages I play, and there's like 60, 70 stages here in Nashville with backline kits, easy, just on Broadway. So I try to take video and photos of every, and I've been accumulating them over like the past couple months. And I'm gonna get around to posting that shortly. I'm actually talking with one of the men. There's a couple businesses down here that actually do the upkeep on these kits. And yeah, I'm going to be interviewing them this week. But yeah, there's a few kits that are just like, ugh, this is really bad. I don't want to roast those people, but there's a couple, like, I think it's like Alley Taps and maybe Big Shots. They have the same kind of kit where it's just like, it always just feels like just, yeah, not the thing. And so Paul says, are most of your gigs paid by mostly tips, or is there set pay in Nashville? Another great question. So Paul, the pay here all depends on what the gig is, what the scenario is. Now, if you're playing in Nashville honky tonk, if you're playing in a scenario where people are going to hear music, but not necessarily going to hear you. So think about that again. People are going to hear music. I want to go out and hear live music. They want to go out. It's kind of like tourists. They want to go see some country music, some line dancing, right? So in those situations, you're operating mainly on tips. So we all have a base pay for those gigs, and that ranges anywhere from $50 to $200. $200 is a rarity, $50 is a rarity. I would say usually a ballpark place is about 100 to start with. And then tips are a totally different thing, right? You can make a lot of money on tips. You can make not a lot of money on tips. And that always doesn't correlate with your abilities as a musician, okay? If you're a sideman, or if you're having someone on the mic, being a good musician helps. Being a good hustler is really what helps. So I've seen people who are great musicians that I love playing with that I know that I won't make a lot of money on the gig with. And I'm okay with that because I'm working on building relationships and I'm not thinking about it in just that moment. There are other people that I play with that aren't the best musicians, that kind of just do their same shtick over and over again. It's not my bag, but again, it's not my gig. I'm just there as a sideman. Those people, but they really know how to hustle. And they just hustle, hustle, hustle. And I know I'm going to walk away with my pockets lined, and I'm going to walk away feeling, that wasn't what I wanted to do musically. And that's really another interesting thing about Nashville is you can work here as a musician, as your vocation, but if you want to work in music as an artist or do things more artistically fulfilling, which is one of my big goals this year, it's, you might have to do some things outside of that where, money may not be a good thing, and then you might have to take some gigs where there's not good music, but you have to do some things with money that, So there's that, but then there's also doing things like original music. And original music doesn't always pay well. Sometimes it can pay great, but that's another thing. And depending on the venue, some venues frown upon tipping, right? And it's all about what level you're at, knowing what the game is. Knowing if you are going there to make money, if you're going there to make art, maybe a little bit of both. But really knowing what the game is and kind of knowing what to expect at that venue. And also, I've made a few videos about this, but looking at things in the grand big picture. It's not just about how much money I can make today, but what is this doing for my career? Is this doing anything for me to meet new people, gain new skills, build my spider web where I can start branching out to other people? Not every gig is like that. Sometimes those gigs are just for money. And then sometimes you just do a gig and you're like, well, it falls flat, but you won't find out until you do it. So really, Paul, the pay can be wildly varied, okay? Wildly varied. Okay, so Paul Sterner says, how do you set the tempo you never heard? It's a great question. So I've written out quite a few charts. I also have quite a few charts from other people, and many times they'll have a tempo marking on them. I'll take a look at that. So if I'm playing a song I've never heard, I'll look at so most likely I'm playing a honky tonk gig, so where you're a human jukebox. So yeah, I'll look at the tempo on the chart. If there is no tempo, I'll just say, hey, sing me the melody really quickly, give me a feel for it, because everyone feels things a little bit differently, and then you just work it out. And if you're playing a song you've never known and you don't know what the tempo is, it's just kind of go with something and say, all right, this is where it's at. And if it feels like absolute trash, don't be afraid to speed up or slow down. But find some place and stick to it. So Iron Man's asking me if I'm playing with Krista Dudley tonight. No, I'm not. Tonight I'm actually going out to Inglewood Lounge. That's a jam session. It's kind of more like funk soul. And what I've been trying to do is actively branch out. Well, things are slower here. Branch out and play more gigs that take me deep out of my comfort zone, that expose me to different people. And that's a real big gamble for me in terms of finances, and just in terms of like, oh, I'm just gonna go out there and I might fall flat on my face. But really what I want to do is, I really view doing these Broadway gigs, these honky-tonk gigs, as my job. That makes me money, and I can help build an audience that way as well. However, my goals this year are to branch out. Branch out and do things that are a little bit more fulfilling to me musically. Also start playing on bigger stages. And in order to do that, you kind of have to take some calculated risks. So yeah, but I will try to see if I can live stream some things at Inglewood. I'm playing at the 5 spots Thursday night with Kevin Daniel, original music, singer-songwriter. I'll see if I can stream that. I'm going to be on the road this weekend with Nick Cross. I'm going to be playing Friday and Saturday at a place called Nashville in Columbia, Missouri, if you want to come out and check that out. I'll be streaming that as well. And then I might stream like some of my other honky-tonk gigs. But that's another thing that I want to talk about, like the streaming and the infrastructure of this channel. I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to answer Jackie's questions. Okay. So a couple questions. Have you done the honky-tonk school thing at Tootsie's, or is that your thing? Or just take if that someone should actually give a go? Okay. So Jackie, you mentioned honky-tonk school. So that is, that could be a spicy topic here in Nashville, depending on who you ask. And Jackie, remind me again, what instrument do you play? But honky-tonk school is here in Nashville. It's something that's done at Tootsie's. Okay, yeah, Jackie, you're a guitar player. So honky-tonk school, you do these auditions. Okay, and they're Saturday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Tootsie's, which is a lot of musicians here on Broadway call it the Purple Place, and it's world famous. And Tootsie's also owns clubs, I believe, like Honky Tonk Central, Kid Rock's, and you can go to honky tonk school and audition. So there's a house band, and you go sit in with the house band, and you sign up. And they, and you have to, they have a list of songs that you should know or that they want you to play. You can say, I want to play this song. And, you know, I think someone within the Tootsie circuit, like I think someone like Uncle John or something, that's what they call him. They say, oh yeah, this person is good. Yeah, you could come to honky tonk school for us. And they basically give you like 3 or 4 absolutes, 3 or 4 shifts a week, and they give you free teaching, and they show you how to work the honky tonk circuit, and they pay you very low, and you know, I'm trying to frame this in very objective, non-biased terms, but just letting you know, they pay you very low, and it has a lot of turnover. And there's a lot of political things going on behind the scenes there. They also they tried to implement this year, implementing taking 10% of everyone's pay who played in these venues to invest into honky tonk school. And they said this was a great resource for all the musicians. And yeah, and Jackie said, I've heard it's got some drama. Yeah, and there was a lot of drama about that. And regardless of you're using this honky tonk school or not, I haven't seen them really do anything education-wise, or I haven't seen them supporting musicians. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I've never seen it. I've never heard it. But yeah, there was a lot of pushback on that. And then some people refused to play anything within that circuit. And I know that circuit is like, if you play on that circuit, a lot of times they will say, hey, you are exclusive to us, you can't play anywhere else. But they're they're not making you an employee, they're making you an independent contractor, but they're saying you can't play anywhere else. And if they find out that you do play somewhere else, they will blacklist you from all their clubs. And yeah, I really can't comment on, like, I mean, you all out there are intelligent. You can figure that out for yourselves, right? And some people they're hesitant to say anything critical because this town is very much about politics. And the people who own some of these honky tonks own a lot of parts of this town. And if you talk badly about one club publicly, maybe you'll talk badly about another club. And I don't want to get on any soapbox here. I'm just really saying this is what people think about. And it can be a sticky situation. And my personal view is that there are some things that I do not agree with down there. There are some places I don't want to play. There are some things I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going to go on a big online rant about it. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it because my goal is I want to play music for a living and I want to be doing it like Broadway is just one corner of the world. For some people, it's like that's their dream, and that's great. For me, it's like, okay, this is a job, and I don't want to invest so much time and energy into that place, into the politics around that job, into the politics around that environment. So, I pick my battles. When I was younger, I definitely would have not picked my battles. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, if a friend of mine was asking me if they should go in to do the honky tonk school, I say, well, listen, if you just want to get some experience sitting in and seeing what it's like, go ahead and do that. If they want you to sign anything or like get on their roster, I would really step back and think heavily about it. Would that be in your best interests? So Joe asked, do you have any tips to help work on developing a short memory to help bounce back from a bad song? So this is it's kind of, the short memory. And I think Joe's referring to that if you play a bad song, it can really get in your head, right? And you can be like, oh man, that sucked. I didn't play that well. I shouldn't be here. And I had that experience all the time. After a while, like me, I'm kind of just I've gotten immune to a lot of these things. And I guess my best advice is just you just got to repeatedly expose yourself to it. Get yourself seasoned. Okay. But also we're talking about like the mental game of music as well. And here's one trick I would like to offer people. This has really helped me. So a lot of times when I'm getting those moments in my head where I'm freaking out, where I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen next? What do I do? And I start judging myself from the outside or saying, oh, you messed that up. Don't mess this one up. That outside voice is doing nothing for me. So a trick I've done is I'll watch my hands. Not think, not make any judgments. I'll just watch, I'll observe them. Or maybe I'll look at somebody else in the band and just watch them move, watch their hands, watch their fingers. No judgment, just kind of, okay, I'm going to look at that. And a lot of times when I do that and turn off my brain for a second, I'm able to reset and keep it moving forward. But getting outside of that voice inside of your head. So, or sometimes I will think about what is this moment all about? Let me just observe the music, look at the music, and not think, but react. And other than that, you just got to get out there and do what you need to do. All right, so Iron Man says, hey, Jomar. Iron Man says, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Iron Man. I'm also an Iron Man too, by the way. If you guys can show you a little bit of skin here. I hope this is mainly on my OnlyFans channel, but you want to see there, that guy right there. Yes, Iron Man. And as soon as I showed a tattoo, I had about 4 or 5 people say, all right, I'm out of here. Yeah. So, and we got maybe about like 10 minutes. I try to keep these under 30 minutes, but sometimes they go a little bit longer. I'd like to keep them 45 minutes up. But if anyone has any questions, please hop on and let me know. What's my favorite superhero? The Incredible Hulk. Because his superpower is he doesn't do anything. He just gets mad and beats stuff up. I just kind of like that. But but me personally, I'm not very much of a big superhero guy. Uh, but one thing I want to talk about was streaming here coming up, and I really wanted to get everyone's honest feedback, and I want to get some input on that. Yeah, Paul says, what camera are you using to record your live gigs? And that's a great question. And that kind of ties into what I'm talking about with streaming. So I'm using a GoPro Hero 10. And I've had very mixed experiences with it. And based on my research, a lot of people have mixed experiences with GoPros. GoPros, sometimes like they'll get a good one, sometimes they'll get a bad one. I've seen stories about people buying GoPros and getting like having to go through 2 or 3 of them before they found one that was actually good. And I haven't had great experience lately with GoPro. So I'm using the GoPro Hero 10, and I did a whole series on this case I was building for that. And I streamed through that, and what I was doing was I was taking a line feed, putting it into my 4-track recorder, putting it right into my GoPro. So I have something called a media mod, which you put on the GoPro so that it can accept an audio input signal. And yeah, so it just stopped taking the audio feed. The GoPro it will stop working. And so I can take the audio feed if I'm not streaming live, but if I'm streaming live, it won't accept the audio feed, and it defaults to the crappy onboard camera. All right, so it gets like really distorted. Okay, so I need to get a new camera that can stream and actually accept audio going in. And another thing with the GoPros, like a lot of times they say, well, just pull the battery out. Well, one thing is like, if I have this GoPro mounted on a stick and mounted inside of a media mount, I can't simply just pull the battery. I have to unmount everything, and also I'm playing. So I need something that's reliable. So I'm thinking I need to switch my camera setup. But also, I'm trying to find a way where I can stream every single gig I do. And so I'm really selective about the gigs I stream, mainly because of time, but also it costs me money every time I stream because I'm using data. And I'm paying about an extra, I think like $80 a month for using a mobile data hotspot. And I'm doing that for my streaming, and I'm kind of at my capacity right now. So one thing I wanted to start doing was scaling back streaming a little bit, or streaming a little bit more and finding a way to crowdfund that. And I don't want to make this something where I'm shaking people down for money. I always want to make this free and available to people, but I also, if this helps people, I want people to find a way to support this channel. So I'm thinking about doing some kind of some crowdfunding thing. I don't know if it needs to be a Kickstarter. I don't know if it just needs to drive people to tipping on my PayPal, putting my Venmo there. But if you would like to see more streaming stuff, I'm gonna start trying to find a way to monetize this channel, have people maybe contribute to this, but then also document the process of monetizing this so other musicians can get the ideas and get the information. Oh, this is how I could do it for myself. So I'm gonna do that. Again, my goal is to get, by the end of this month, 1,000 viewers so I can start getting some ad revenue, and that's a big goal. So if you know anybody who wants to follow this channel, please shoot this to them. Try and get somebody to follow. If you can donate, that'd be great. And I really want to base how I build this channel on how people are supporting it. Like, do you want to see more live streaming stuff? Do you want to see more interviews? Do you want to see more talking head videos? But really, this channel is for you, and I'm just kind of the medium for it. So Paul's asking, how hard is it to get a job with someone having hit records today? That's a great question. Paul, what do you want to do with them, Paul? I'm sure you could get a job. You get a job like, take you out the trash or being the driver or, doing the yard work, which actually might be a good in. But if you want to talk about being a musician, that's a great question. So I would say, like, if that's your goal, let's frame it in that capacity. If you want to work with somebody who's playing hit records, you got to know somebody, and you got to know somebody. How do you know somebody? You know other people. How do you get to know people? It's like you just got to go out there and put yourself out there. It's really like last week we were talking, it's about really like a spider web. I connect one person, that one person has about 4 or 5 other people they can connect me with, and then every person on that stream can connect you with another 5 other people. And so, and how hard is it to get a job playing? So if you want to play drums with somebody who's like doing hit records, that's all relative. How good are you? How well can you handle stress? How are your people skills? How motivated are you to do that? Okay? And that's going to be very different for everybody. There's no one easy answer. If I had that answer, I would tell you. And I've really kind of debated with myself, what do I want? Do I want to really focus on creating material for other people that helps them get to Nashville, helps them become professional musicians, or like fills this niche where people aren't talking about the real aspects of music? Do I want to focus on that? Because I think there's a big opportunity there. Do I want to focus on playing and only playing? Because if I want to do that, this YouTube channel essentially goes away. Or this YouTube channel just totally changes its tone from me talking about, all the things involved with playing music to just me playing music. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. And what Paul is saying is like, yeah, he's saying that he thinks my skills are good enough. And I used to think that my skills weren't good enough, but I realized, and this is a really valuable lesson for everybody out there, it's like, skills are a part of it, but really what matters is your ability to network, your ability to get along with people, your ability to be intentional with your goals and where you're spending your time and energy. Like, if I want to really spend my time and energy playing with getting on a hit record, I'm not going to worry so much about Tootsie's Honky Tonk School, okay? I might play some gigs in that circuit, make some money, but that's really just a job, and I'm trying to find ways to network. And it's about building relationships with people. And for me, a big part of it was getting my name out there. I've always been really self-conscious about my playing. I've been self-conscious about talking on camera because I feel like one of the things I really value as a person, as a musician, is authenticity. I love when people are just they talk exactly who they are. Like I have a buddy, Joe, he's a total goof, okay? And he's totally different than me and a little bit more positive and a little bit more than me, but he kicks it in a totally different fashion than me. But I like that because that's who he is, right? And I like it when people are authentic, just like music. I like it if people play music authentically. Not trying to be something, but just this is my expression. So, I've really tried to be authentic on camera, and I felt really self-conscious about that. So, okay, so, yeah, so it's really just putting yourself out. Sorry, I'm bunny trailing, but really putting yourself out there. So how do you get for things that are challenges for me may not be challenges to somebody else, and vice versa. And do I want to be doing playing with people on hit records, or do I want to be writing, creating music? And that's one thing I'm kind of really working out this year. And I'm focusing. Do I need to be streaming more, showing more of my gigs? There's all these things, and I realize it's not going to be one thing that really gets me to where I'm going. So yeah, that's I hope that gives you some insight, Paul. So John Bollinger, he usually plays with Krista, and John is a good dude. Yeah, John Bollinger is he's a great dude. Oh, thank you, Paul. Paul says I look like a pro. Thank you. That means a lot. And yeah, John is a great dude, and he just tells you exactly what it is, man. And John is he's great at being John Bollinger. He's not a picker in guitar, so he's not going to do any of these some of these crazy signature country licks. John Bollinger is going to play like John Bollinger, and that's what I like. He's this is who he is. And yeah, Paul says keep streaming your live shows. And so, Paul, that's what I'm going to be trying to do. I'm trying to figure out a way to do that. I can maybe only stream maybe one every week or two right now, just because of in terms of the money that it's costing me and the extra time, and I can only spend so much. So I'm looking for a couple things. I'm looking to upgrade this channel a little bit in terms of I need to upgrade the infrastructure with the equipment so I can stream more or pay for more data, and also do it in a better quality, get a little bit better audio feed on that. And yeah, so I'm either going to do that through crowdfunding, and again, if anybody ever wants to, I have a PayPal that you can tip, or you can just Venmo me. That any support there is great, but also I'm trying to get this to 1,000 viewers so I can start generating some ad revenue. So my viewers don't have to, I don't have to ask them to donate all the time, but I can start generating some revenue. Yeah, and I would love to pre-record the shows as well. Again, it's like I'm working on trying to find a solution that is in the best interest of my time, my money, my energy, but it's also really like it's helpful to people. Yeah, Joe said using Club's Wi-Fi is not usually very good, but yeah, it's. Yeah, and so you can also see live streams on AJ's and Nudies as well. And you know that's a cool idea. That's also, if you're a musician, that's a really great idea to, like, if you're not playing in Nashville and but you like want to start playing out around your hometown, stream this stuff on AJ's and Nudies. See what songs they're playing. Write those songs down. Learn those songs. If you start going out playing a band with those songs, that's going to be freaking great. Yeah, so again, I'm going to hop off here because I'm going to get ready to go out, and I have to make some videos here today. I have to hook up with another few musicians. And again, I'm really going to be taking this channel and trying a few different things coming up here. Getting a little bit bigger with this YouTube. But really, it's all based on everyone's feedback, what they want to see. So if you tell me something you want to see, I try to implement that. And I really like feedback from everybody. And if I can get some support, that's so, like, I go where, like, what people want to support into. So again, if you find this stuff valuable, like, subscribe, share. Also, like, if we can have donations, that would be great, so I can maybe upgrade the data so I can do more streaming, upgrade the hard drive space. But I really enjoy this. And again, if you have any questions, write them down for next week. I'm going to be here next week, Sunday, the same time and same place, 3:30. So thanks, everybody, for coming today, and hope you have a good week. And I will be posting some streams, hopefully, later this week.